For a team with an established superstar in Joel Embiid and also someone who many believe is a rising superstar in Tyrese Maxey, also the most cap space going into the offseason and what seems like a lot of options to pick from, you would think that the Sixers would have like a promising future, that people would be looking at it as a bright future, something to look forward to. But something feels off with them. And I think other fans are starting to, I think fans of the Sixers are starting to notice it. What's going on, everybody? We're back with another video. Before we continue, I need everybody to hit the like button. We're going to try to get to at least 10 likes this video. Also, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It supports me, so make sure y'all go do that. All right? So, like I said, the Sixers have a ton of cap space going into the offseason. They have an established superstar in Joel Embiid. They also have a rising superstar in Tyrese Maxey. But something feels very off about the offseason. It doesn't feel like a team where you're like, okay, you look at them, you're like, that's very promising. They can go get whoever they want in free agency. They can build the new team. They have a superstar in Joel Embiid. But, like, it feels weird. Like, it feels very, like, whatever, right? And I think that goes back to the main issue I have with the Sixers. I think a lot of people will agree with me on this, and it's that since the ownership of Josh Harris, the Sixers don't have a culture. They don't have an identity. When you look at other teams around the league, you know what you're getting when you play those teams, and they have also had the same style of play or style of players that they go after or they get or they draft throughout their like entire franchise. When you think about teams like the Boston Celtics, they're always going to have a good wing. When you think about the New York Knicks, they're always going to play gritty, grimy. They're always going to go for those type of players. When you look at the Pacers, you think of shooting. They're always going to have a fast-paced offense. Even when you look at over in the West, you look at a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves or the Memphis Grizzlies, you're like, they're always going to be grit and grind, and they're going to be big. They're going to try to out-rebound you. The Sixers don't have that. They don't have a culture. They don't have an identity. When you look at the Sixers, you're like, okay, well, they have Joel Embiid. They have Tyrese Maxey. But you don't know how they play, what their style of player that they go after is. You don't know what they are. And I think that goes back to Josh Harris and ownership. When you do look at the Sixers, I'm going to be completely honest. When you look at the Sixers, you think of losers. They attract losers. They lose a lot. Even when you look at the things going on Twitter right now with Joel Embiid about him not making the conference finals, that's just who the Sixers have been for the past 5 to 7 years. Even when they were the promising Sixers, they would still lose in the second round, and that's basically been their MO. Whenever anybody talks about the Sixers, analysts, fans, it's always, can they make it out of the second round? And that's the main issue I have with them, and that's what I think is being thrown off going into this offseason, and why fans, they're like, okay, like I want to see what happens, but they don't exactly feel good because the culture around the Sixers is not something that's very inviting. And I think I noticed it a while with the Eagles, but I really noticed it this offseason, like with other sports. The Eagles have built a culture where they outside players want to come play for them. Rookies want to come play for them. They've built a culture where it's good. They're going to take care of their players, and they're going to also do good in the community and different things like that as far as the culture goes, right? They have players like Bryce Huff come in. You got players from rival teams wanting to sign with them. You can even go back to DeMarco Murray. They recently, Saquon came over to the Philadelphia Eagles. You have CJG, no matter how you think that situation went last offseason, if you think Howie did him wrong with the amount of money they paid him, or if GJ did the organization wrong, he still decided that he wanted to come back and play for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's just the culture that they have built throughout the ownership of Jeffrey Lurie, and how multiple players want to come play for them. When they do get there, they love it. They want to stay. They always want to sign. And so you have players like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith who are coming from small cities or small country style lifestyles, and are signing extensions because they want to stay in Philadelphia. They love it. They love the city. They love the players. They love the Eagles organization. And you don't get that feel from the Sixers and their culture. Like I said, they invite a lot of losers. Even looking at the offseason going into, they're attached to or linked to a lot of players that are of a losing mentality or a losing career. Like when you look at Paul George, Brandon Ingram, I forget there's someone else that they're attached to. And it's like, I mean, it's their only options right now, but it's what they've attracted and what they've built throughout Josh Harris's tenure and upper management's tenure as a coacher with the 76ers. When you look at how they handle their players and their free agency, it always seems to be a problem with upper management. It's like a player, they'll either sign or trade for a player, they'll get here, they love it, but it never ends well. And it's always like that player that they sign is never like a real superstar. It's always somebody that is like, all right, well, I have no other option but to come here. It's never a player that actually wants to come to Philly. And you think about, oh my God, like then they say this is the place that I want to be. Even when you think back to Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell in the draft, every word out of Cooper DeJean's mouth is, this is the place that I really wanted to be. Quinion Mitchell, this is the place that I really wanted to be. You don't ever get that feel from the Sixers. And like I said, it always feels like it ends badly. You can go back to the Jimmy Butler situation, the Ben Simmons situation, the James Harden situation. There's always a problem and there's always something that comes out with upper management. Even when you look at the Patrick Beverley podcast and he said everybody doesn't want to win over in Philadelphia, he said it has nothing to do with the players. It has everything to do with upper management. When you look at Ben Simmons, he didn't want to come back because he felt like Sixers discredited him. No matter how you feel about that situation, there was upper management, how they treated him on his way out. Also, when you look at the Jimmy Butler situation, he felt like they wanted to sign. He this is what I'm going off Jimmy Butler's word. He felt like they signed Tobias over him, but we all know that it was Ben Simmons. Even then, there was like a pick and choose thing. Then you look at the James Harden situation where he calls Daryl Morey a liar. It's just always something with the organization that just is not good. It doesn't bring good juju, if you get what I'm saying. Like, they're just not a team where you look at them and you're like, this is a place where I want to play. And that's why I think it's a people are looking down on the offseason. They're like, okay, yeah, like I want to see what happens, but like I don't have any faith in it because they know they can't actually attract any big name free agents, even though this is a weak class, or they can't attract big name trades because I've been going back and forth with the give everything you have for Donovan Mitchell, but I'm like, all right, well, he's going to have one more year, and like I can't guarantee that he's going to stay or that the Sixers are going to do anything, or the Sixers are going to do everything they can to sign him back. And I just don't feel like that's been the culture. The culture that I feel like has been with Josh Harris is, and Daryl Morey, is we're going to have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. All right. We're going to have enough to where we're going to be a good team. We're going to be able to compete. We're going to be able to win, but we're never going to go all in to truly win a championship. When you look at two of the teams that are going to currently to the conference finals, you look at the Dallas Mavericks. They went all in at the deadline, acquiring Daniel Gafford, acquiring PJ Washington. Then you go over and you look at the Indiana Pacers. They went all in acquiring Pascal Siakam, even though he is on a 1-year deal. Even if you want to look at the Minnesota Timberwolves, they traded 6 different picks for Rudy Gobert. They went all in because they weren't being scared. And they said, I know what we have to do to win a championship. Now you look over at the Philadelphia 76ers and what they did at the deadline. They were like half in, half out. Like Daryl Morey acquired Buddy Hield, but he didn't go out and truly try to get like a DeJounte Murray that was on the market, or he didn't want to overpay for a star or somebody that would truly help this team. And then, yeah, I know there's a caveat in there. Joel Embiid was hurt. You didn't know what was going on with the situation. But I do feel like inside the organization, they absolutely knew what was going on with Joel Embiid. And if you knew that he was coming back, why not go all in at the deadline and get him some true help? Like, there's no way you can't tell me that DeJounte Murray would not have put the Sixers over the top to beat the New York Knicks, and then go on into the second round and to beat the Indiana Pacers, and then go into the conference finals. And now you have a defender to defend the wings of, we have the defense to defend the wings of the Boston Celtics. Like, there's no way you can tell me that Daryl Morey said, okay, this deadline we're going all in. He was with the cap slates plan the entire time and tried to frame it as if they don't know what they were doing in the offseason. But that's just the issue that I have with the Sixers. Like, I feel like the culture under Josh Harris, the culture under Daryl Morey has been more, we're going to go halfway. And like I said, we're going to be good enough. We're going to sell tickets. We're going to be good enough to win. We're never going to be good enough we're never going to go all in and go over the luxury tax and spend everything that we need to and expire and exhaust all our assets in order for us to go out and truly win an NBA championship and put a team around our NBA star. I don't think that they're ever going to do that. I just think that's who Josh Harris is as an owner. They attract losers. They have built a losing culture there. Every star or every player that leaves, there has always been an issue. Well, every big name player that has left, there's always been an issue or a controversy leading up to them leaving. And I just don't think that's good for business. I don't think that's good for like I said, the culture or the identity that they are trying to build over there. When you look at the Sixers, you don't know what type of team they are. Every single offseason, it's we got to go get another star. Well, there's more to building a team than going to go get another star. You got to get the right players around Joel Embiid. You got to get players with the right mindset, the right skill set, everything that you need to build an actual championship team. You need to look at that. It's not just, okay, we're going to get a third star and we're going to run over the East. We're going to get over the hump. That's just not how basketball works, especially in this day of age where I feel like the super team era is over. But that's just how I feel about Josh Harris and the Sixers organization. And honestly, I just don't think that they're going to be able to compete no matter who they bring in, because of the culture that they built. It's just not a culture that you can look at and you can say this team will go on to win an NBA championship, because the vibe that they give off is just so bad. And it's just like loser mentality over there, no matter how good the players are. Like, they've had prime Ben Simmons, who we can all agree was definitely worth the hype. They've had James Harden, they've had Jimmy Butler, but they can never get over the second round hump. And that's not just a team thing, that's an upper management organizational culture thing that they have built there. And I don't think that it's going to be able to be changed until they completely change ownership, change upper management, and honestly blow the team up, especially and that involves trading Joel Embiid and maybe starting over with Maxey. But I just don't think that they have a real route out of this culture. You can't just remake a culture with 30-year-old Joel Embiid and just try to revamp everything, especially with his injury situations and his body failing on him. I just don't think they can do it.